All right, so today on Rock and Blues Review, we are fortunate that in Niagara we have one of Canada's foremost blues roots artists living right here. Today we welcome the multi-award winning and acclaimed singer-songwriter Suzie Vinnick. Welcome to the show, Suzie.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having me.
So my first question is, I remembered when you first arrived in Niagara, and so how did that come about in the first place? You're out in Wainfleet, and how did that happen? And maybe give us a brief history of Suzie Vinnick.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm originally from Saskatoon. I moved to Ottawa at 21 to play blues with Tony D, who's one of the members of Monkey Junk. So I lived in Ottawa 7 years, moved to Toronto, and was there for almost 15 years. And my partner James and I became friends with a luthier named Joe Yanizello. And Joe left Toronto and moved to Wainfleet. He bought this old cheese factory, the old dairy in Winger. And we came out to visit him a bunch of times. And he said, and I was looking for a place to live. And he said, you should check out the old church up the road. So there's this old church for sale. And I wasn't looking to leave Toronto. I was looking for somewhere else to live in Toronto, but the church was super cool. And so made kind of a hard decision because I loved Toronto. But they came out and have been out in Wainfleet for 12 and a half years now.
Wow.
And bought the church and it was already a residence. It had been empty for a few years, so needed a little love. But my partner James is a carpenter contractor, so
nice.
Yeah, so that's what brought me here to Wainfleet.
Yeah, I remember when you were out there, I visited you once, and I can't remember why. It must have been shuffle related. I don't remember.
I think I was giving you a CD or something. I remember you came by. That's right. That's almost like early on, probably around 2013, because I think it was around the time I played the Canal Bank Shuffle with Roley and the band. Somebody just posted a video of that, a song from it. Like, holy cow, I can't believe how long ago that was. But yeah.
Oh, I know.
Time flies, man.
Yeah. Yeah, Roley's great. Yeah. Did you do anything with him lately?
I haven't done anything, no. It's been a quieter summer, so I don't recall the last time I played with Roley, but
yeah. For those of us who don't know, Roley Platt, a great harp player.
Yeah.
And he has a unique style of playing, and I remember talking to him about that.
Yeah, he's great. He's one of the best in Canada, I'd say. He's super melodic and he's really funny. And he's got a really cool book, too, about playing harmonica and stories from his career. So, yeah.
What about you? Book down the road?
Oh, no, I don't think I've got enough stories to do something like that. But just plugging away, gearing up. I've got some cool work coming up. September 6th, I'm playing this R&B, Roots, Blues, and Barbecue Festival in Drumheller, Alberta, and it's this. It's in it's this beautiful spot, outdoor spot. You look like you're in the Middle East or something, and all the hoodoos around, and so I'm doing that show with Brandon Isaac is he's emceeing and performing, and then Angelica Jones from Ottawa's playing, then me, I'm doing a solo set, and then Julian Taylor, and then it closes the night with Colin James. So it'll be a good night of blues and roots and blues and in a really cool setting. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And then I get on a plane on the Sunday and I fly to Fredericton to be part of the Harvest Jazz and Blues Festival. They call it the Harvest Music Festival now. I've known it Harvest Jazz and Blues since the 90s. But I'm doing a week of blues in the schools and then a concert and a little, I guess there's some sort of private thing they've hired me to do as well. So it's going to be a busy 7 days, but it'll be good.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So many paths cross, and I think that's how these interviews come about, because I did Colin James a few weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
And earlier on, I had David Rotundo, who's big on blues in schools.
Yeah.
He loves that stuff. You say it's been a quiet summer, but you've been fairly busy. I've been looking at your schedule. You certainly do enough traveling.
Yeah, there's some, there definitely, we put some miles in. July was a little quieter. I guess August has been a bit busier. I played a cool little festival called the Killaloo Fair. And I was expecting it to be like cows and, people showing off their cows and things like that. But it's tucked in the middle of this beautiful little patch of land. It's hilly all around. And this festival's been going on, I don't know if it was a good 30 years or something like that. The land was purchased by the early settled hippies from there. And yeah, so they do this beautiful festival. So I was there for that weekend and Owen Sound. And then a couple weeks ago, I had a show in Michigan, in Hudson, Michigan, where I've played before. They do an outdoor concert series. So it's a sweet little small town, and played that, and then drove to northern Wisconsin. And there's this guy who's a blues nut, goes down to like Clarksdale, Mississippi, and he's an artist. He did like science food stuff in the States. He and his partner, but he's an artist, and so he has this blues festival at his cottage in northern Wisconsin. It's been going on 20 years, and he gets these acts that come to play like the bigger blues festivals in the area, and then brings them in for this private party. And so I am friends with a great blues guitar player out of Chicago named Donna Harula. And Donna's played the festival, and she recommended me. So up we went after the Hudson gig, a 10-hour haul up to this beautiful cottage, and played in this guy's boathouse. It was really awesome. Really awesome. So I opened, and he doesn't tell the people that attend who is coming to play. So it's a surprise. And so I didn't find out till that night. I could see this chair on the stage, and I was wondering, well, where are they going to have me sit? And I saw this towel, and it said Rory. And I'm like, okay, some guy named Rory. And it turned out I was opening for Rory Block.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she'd played a festival, I think, around there, and her husband was on sound. I think his name is Rob. So I opened for Rory Block in the middle of this funky boathouse with like a million strings of lights, and every year Dawn, the presenter, makes a guitar out of like scraps and stuff, and then he puts the names of all the artists who play that year's festival on the guitar. So I was so stoked to be a part of it. And and then played Napanee and Havelock and this last weekend. And
so do you have any preferred type venues, or do you like the surprises?
Yeah, I mean, I like it all. I'm happy to work. The bigger stages are great. They terrify me a little more. I kind of like I've been doing this for over 40 years, and I still get butterflies. I think they're getting worse as I get older. I don't know what the hell that is about, but I like them all. It's so cool to have to play in different spaces. But I think I do like sort of the more intimate venues a little bit, just where you can see who's in the audience. But I don't know. I'm just happy to work, and try to make people happy with my music, and so.
Well, yeah, the intimate venues, I think, would suit your style far more, and it's hard to get people to sit quietly as it is. So you need those small venues for sure, and for people who make the effort to attend, they're usually great shows. They have something to remember. For sure. Yeah,
I mean, I do mostly solo shows these days, just because I find it's more feasible and being in the middle of the country, it's also kind of trickier to assemble bands. So there's some amazing players that I've gotten to work with around here, like Jim Casson and Rich Moore and Mark Lalama and stuff. But so I tend to just do some more solo shows, but I do the band shows where people. It's great to get to do them, and people get up and dance and things like that too. That's fun too. Because sometimes I can let loose a little more on the electric with that and make a bit more noise. But I guess, and so I gravitate towards the solo type shows more, just because it's something that's more comfortable. But But rocking out once in a while and getting up, folks up dancing is.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the shuffle earlier, and I know we had one of each. We had you on the big stage with a big band once, and then in an intimate solo
The
another time.
cafe. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Well, that guy was a big supporter, and he loved the music, so it worked out. Now, you have been doing this since you were very young.
yeah, I have. Yeah.
Did you ever consider a different career, or is that anything that ever crossed your mind?
Well, I love music from like since I was a little kid, and I would gravitate towards it, in school band and things like that. And I remember going to see my little sister play ball. She's a few years younger than me, so she was probably 8. I was probably 11 or 12, and we were at a school in Saskatoon outside. She was at the Ball Diamond, and there was a portable, and there were these. I could hear music, and like leaving the ball game and sitting on the steps of the portable and kind of peeking inside and hoping I wasn't going to get in trouble or something while these guys were inside and rehearsing. And so I always thought, I didn't think this is what I'm going to do for a living. I don't think I even thought in those sort of terms. I just think it's just something that made me feel really happy, playing music. And it took me to my early 30s to let myself go completely full time with music. I had done administrative work. I did house cleaning, like scrubbing people's toilets and working as a nanny and things like that, just to help get by. And then, and when I talk to, like when I do coaching and stuff like that, and people ask about music, and I just talked about the two pies. Like there was a pie of music work and a pie of the other work I did that helped me so I could do my music. And slowly that music pie was growing and growing, and finally I didn't have to do the little pie. But I'm so grateful for having to do the other work, because like I did administrative work for a film composer in Toronto. Mm-hmm. I was booking flights and hotels and rental cars and administrative stuff like that for him, which, now I do that for me, and occasionally we'll hire someone to help me with that work. So, it gave me all these great skills that I can use and were applicable to being a full-time musician. So yeah, I mean, I do enjoy the teaching aspect of things, and working with like I have taught up at the Halliburton School of the Arts, beginner blues guitar and intermediate blues guitar, and I've had really great classes, and all adults my age and older, pretty typically in the classes, and so it's been. So teaching, feels good too. But yeah, things had worked out differently. I suspect I would either be an accountant or a computer programmer.
Wow. Seems like a wide range of interest.
Well, numbers, right?
Yeah. No, but starting so young, you must have had a lot of different influences over the years at different ages.
Like musically, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I started guitar at 9, and I have an older brother, 7 years older, and he loved music as well. So he'd often hand me down his albums. He played guitar briefly, but it wasn't really his thing. He's a photojournalist, and he's the Vancouver Canucks photographer, and he shoots all the live shows. So he's got a shot of like Bruce Springsteen crowd surfing on a crowd in Vancouver that he shot, and Carlos Santana and all these guys. But so fortunate that I grew up in a household of where my folks, were very supportive of whatever us kids wanted to do. As a teen, I listened to a lot of classic rock, and in school, I played in concert band. I played in the jazz band. I started on guitar, but I didn't know the jazzy chords, and there was a guy who knew the jazzy chords in this one stage band I was in, and so, but there was a bass, and no one was playing bass, and I thought, why don't I learn a new instrument? So, and the music teacher was, I think, glad for that, to have a bass player, so I got to take that bass home, and I learned how to play bass in grade 9. I think I was 13, and so in my high school music program, I was studying concert band music, wind ensemble, saxophone quartet, and then jazz band, jazz combo. So my influence as a teen, as a player, were more jazz and more, and not so much classical, maybe contemporary classical music. And then the only place I could go to jam in Saskatoon was this blues jam at Bud's on Broadway. I had a couple buddies that we'd get together every once in a while, but everything else you had to be 19 or older, and we were 15, 16 years old. So Bud's in the day was a restaurant. And so I would go to with Tim and Keith, and we'd go and get up and do our 3 songs, and then I'd hang out and I'd listen to this blues music, which that was how I heard about blues. It was the Blues Bar, and I liked it. I liked the expressiveness, and it encompassed some of that classic rock side of the heavier guitar that I liked, but in a different way. And so I would go every Saturday, and eventually one of the other jammers, Curtis, and I used to run the jams, and the bar would let me come in at night, even though I wasn't night. I
think you're safe. I think you're okay.
Yeah, and so it was a really amazing education that I got, and I'm super grateful to the folks at Bud's and the managers that let me come in and could tell that I wasn't there to get hammered. I was there to check out the music, and it was awesome. Like, because I saw Sue Foley. Sue's just like a year older than me, and so Sue would come through with her trio. Ellen McElween would come through with her trio, and there's some nights as a high school student I was in the bar 6 nights a week, catching some of the bands, like some of my favorites. So, and a lot of the Alligator Records label people would be coming up. So I saw Eddie the Chief Clearwater. Did you ever catch Professor's Blues Revue?
No, but I had seen Eddie the Chief.
Yeah, sure. And Professor Eddie Lusk was the Professor's Blues Revue, and he'd come in for the week, and some of these guys were so nice. Jimmy Johnson came and played, and there weren't many female artists, but it's just really cool, Yeah. So those like blues influences that I got to catch a lot of that stuff live. Sonny Rhodes came and played. God, I'm missing a million of them. And a lot of Canadian acts too, like Amos Garrett would come through and play. I have to sit down someday and just like write down the list and try to go through like old blues artists and go, oh, I saw them and them and them and them.
Yeah. You know what? About 35 years ago, I promised myself to do that, and I never did. Now I'll never remember.
Oh, but the internet might help you with that. That's the thing.
Yeah, me.
If you look at blues artists from the mid '80s, that's the way I'll do it.
Yeah. Now, all your bios mention, jazz, blues, roots. Do you still tend to favor one, or do you not worry about what genre you're working in at the moment?
It seems. I like songwriters and folks like John Hyatt and Sean Colvin, and I loved Supertramp. I don't know. My taste buds are all over the place in the listening department for sure, but I don't know. I think the blues is a pretty comfortable pair of shoes to get to slip on, because I've been listening. I'm 55 now, and I've been listening to it since I was 15. I'm just not, I have some friends that are super prolific and know the technical things. I kind of go by how I feel.
Right.
And it's something that feels good. But and I still like my classic rock. I don't know. Like Foo Fighters is one of my favorite rock bands, but I don't know. I'm all over.
Yeah.
I'm over with listening, but performing, it's cool to rock out with and blues out, to be able to pick up a guitar and kind of rock out on it. So
yeah. Well, so let's talk about your latest album then, because there's some of each in there, and it's got some emotional, some sadness in there. What inspires your writing? Is it life experience? Is it completely fictional?
Oh, well, I'm trying to find. I just had a copy of my latest album sitting here with me, and of course I've to look at the titles just as a reminder, but that's okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Chaos on my desk here. So, like, I mean, this record came together. It's a little bluesier. I did an album in 2002 called 33 Stars, which was really eclectic, and it opened up some doors for me, which was really cool, and introduced me to some amazing Toronto musicians when I was living in Toronto, sort of living in Toronto at the time. I was dating someone long distance, so I lived on people's couches and put my stuff in storage, and then went to Saskatoon for a while. But that album, I always kind of liked it. And where it came from was I had a bunch of losses. Not that I like the losses, but like my mom and dad both passed. A marriage had ended. My grandmother died. A friend committed suicide. Like it was kind of a heavy album, but it still turned into something that had some lightness to it. And so this album, my latest, which is a few years old now, I can't believe it, Fall Back Home, which looks like that, and sort of came together. I got some funding during the COVID time when we were all hanging out at home, and I always thought, well, there's a kind of a loss that we're all going through, collectively in the world with not being able to connect with one another and just missing folks. And so I thought, well, it might be kind of nice to try to put something not exactly the same as 33 Stars together, but something sort of similar. So I kind of collected songs that I'd been performing. Some were covers. Some were ones I'd started, like It Doesn't Feel Like Spring Anymore is a song I wrote. It was actually a journal entry from when my dad died in 2000. And that I would revisit every once in a while, and I thought, well, this will be a song at some point. And then I finally got it to a place where I felt, okay, I think this is finished. So it needed a home and ended up on the record, and like songs like Let Me Make It Up to You Tonight. I've been singing this Roy Forbes tune forever, and so it was nice to get it to tape. And some songs came from streaming. I did this online streaming shows every Wednesday during COVID when we couldn't go out and hear live music. And so some of the listeners would send in requests. So some of the songs came from that too, like Reno and Big Train. And some were written via Zoom, like you and I are talking today.
Right.
So it's a kind of a mishmash of stuff. There wasn't really a particular theme we were looking at, but I don't know, I guess it's just songs that resonated for me. And
A Big Train is a John Fogerty cover. So what makes you cover something? What catches you about a particular song over another?
Well, like Reno, A Big Train, a fan from Morin Heights, Quebec, had requested it. His name was Francois, and he liked it, and I would play it for him on the streaming show. So over the course of a year and a half, I kind of developed my own little arrangement of it, and it's kind of an up-tempo fun. It's a fun one to play on guitar and to sing, and
right,
and kind of a relatable theme, the trains, and
for sure. Every blue guy needs a train song. You have to have it.
I think it might be one of my first train songs. It's up there anyway.
Yeah.
And then Reno, I mean, I loved Chilliwack as a kid. Like, mom and dad always had the AM radio going on in the kitchen with the hits of the 70s. So Chilliwack, woo, 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 like all the songs old Chilliwack songs. But this Reno was not really mainstream radio, but I think it was a big hit for them. The hook line, people don't always know the song Reno by Reno, but they know it. There ain't no audience, there ain't no show. And
well, speaking of hook lines,
yes,
when you're writing, it must be hard to balance like heartfelt lyrics with a catchy, infectious chorus.
Well, let's see.
I mean, you do both, but is it?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of have their places. I'm just looking at the songs on this particular album, and like Salt and Pepper is a love song, but it's one I wrote with Mike Bigger, who's from New Brunswick. And it's kind of a sassy, and it's a really fun one to play. Lift You Up is a song that I guess I remember wanting to write something that people could listen to, and because people were being so nasty during COVID, all the armchair warriors and stuff, people just had different views, and instead of accepting the fact that people had different views, they would shoot them down for it. And I just thought it'd be nice to write a song that lifts people up. And I think I had read a story about a gentleman in a grocery store was behind this woman, and she put about 30 little pumpkins on she was paying for 30 pumpkins. He's like, "What are you doing?" And she says, "Oh, I'm buying pumpkins for my students so that they can carve them for Halloween." And he said, "My wife used to be a teacher. Let me pay for those pumpkins." And I just being able to do little things of kindness. So I don't know, I guess, I don't, people will say, "Do you write lyrics or music first?" And I kind of collect lines and stories, and I email them to myself. And then when it's time to write, or if I do mostly co-writing, just because I find that I tend to get more of a finished song. I'm a kind of bit of a scatterbrain, and you haven't caught that yet. So working with someone tends to get more of a completed song. So I'll look through my list, my file in the computer, and kind of see if I think of the person I'm going to write with, and see what might resonate for me when I think of them. So Karen, who I co-wrote "Lift You Up" and "Secret" with, is a Windsor, Ontario-based songwriter, and we wrote both of those on Zoom. The "Lift You Up" song came pretty quickly. "Secret" took a little longer, and I think "Sugar" was what ended up finishing that one off. Anyway, yeah.
You've had you mentioned some of the guys you've worked with, and is there anybody who you would like to work with who you haven't yet, either writing or performing?
Gee, it'd be cool to. I've barely, Colin, James, and I are both from Saskatchewan, and we've crossed paths, and I've opened for him a few times over the years, but I've never really sat down and talked with him. But he gets some great tunes and playing. I love Tara Lightfoot, and Tara is fun because my first time connecting with her in person was as a cat mom. She was fostering a cat in Hamilton before she went off. She had a record deal, I think, but they were getting all the pieces in place, and we decided to adopt a cat. And so Cinnamon was with Tara and her partner at the time, and so I met her through a foster mom capacity. But I love her, and I love her. She's got such a great joie de vivre, and it'd be cool to write with Tara and play with Tara, because I don't think we've even gotten to play together, but she rocks. Oh, that's not true. Women's Blues Revue, she was a guest. So
yeah,
those are a couple. I've been so blessed. I get to work with Tom Wilson and Stephen Fearing and Matt Anderson, and my friend Karen is great. And
well, you've got the connections there, because Tom's often Colin's partner, and Tara would just spent a few dates opening up for him. It seems like a natural. And Colin's a nice guy. Give him a call.
Yeah, I just have to ask him, Mr. Linden, Colin Linden, and
oh yeah,
it's all good. And he's so busy, just rocking it. Yeah, I just got to sit my butt down and train myself how to write a song by myself again.
Well, no, but I think those collaborations would be fun for both of you.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
Now, you mentioned you didn't have enough for a book.
Yeah.
Are there any crazy or outstanding events that you can recall?
Stories from the road? Oh, God, probably. I think I just pushed them all out of my mind like a cliff. They just fall off the cliff. And then I might see someone and go, oh, yeah. You know who is my boyfriend, James, remembers my life probably better than I do. James, do I have any crazy stories to share with Bob? I don't know. I don't know, like some of the gigs and things I get to do, like going up to northern Wisconsin and playing in this dude's boathouse was just like super cool. It's just this setting, and it's just so different and so unique. And I don't know. James isn't coming back to me with any stories.
Yeah.
Okay, so James says I need to tell this story. So I was telling you about the Buds on Broadway jam days, and when Curtis and I ran the jam. Now, I remember doing this, but Sean Varro, you know Sean from Wide Mouth Mason?
No, I did just interview Gordy Johnson, though.
Okay, but you've heard of Sean, and you know Wide Mouth Mason, right?
Yeah.
So Sean came Sean was my sister's age, and they went to school together, and he came to the jam with a few of his buddies, and he had his guitar. His buddy, I seem to recall his buddy had a keyboard. It was like wintertime, and his keyboard was under his arm. And Curtis was on the stage making like a big, awesome musical racket with whoever he was on stage with. And the guys walked in, and then and I was at the back door, and then they kind of turned around and left. And I went outside and I went, "What are you doing?" And where are you going? And they, "Oh, well, we don't have a singer and we don't have a bass player." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm here at the jam and I'll help you with that. I can sing and I can play." And so they came back in, but I think they were just kind of freaked out about what was going on. And so I ended up getting up with them, and we probably did a few songs or a couple songs, whatever it was. And that was that. And then years later, I remember, I think it was, I used to do these shows with Tony D in Ottawa at Barrymore's, and we'd bring in special guests at Christmas. It was a special Christmas show. So one year we had Tom Wilson, we had Jeff Healy. Another year we had Sean Varro, we had Paul and John. Anyway, and Sean reminded me, this is probably 15 years later, after his Wide Mouth Mason days, major label touring with ZZ Top and that, about how he was there with his buddies and how I had dragged him back on stage. And he has shared that story. It's been brought to me, told me he shared that story 4 or 5 times. So whether he, I don't think that me dragging he and his buddies in, was the end all be all of his career. I'm sure he would have kept playing music, but he talks about it. So I guess it must have done some sort of a little, made an impact on him because he shares the story. So anyway, that's not really like a crazy road story and getting drunk and partying with blah, 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 or whatever, but
I wasn't necessarily looking for that, but whatever stands out. Well, that's interesting for sure. And
it's nice because it sort of speaks to the teacher part. I have the teacher part in me that just sensed something that this needs to be nudged and nurtured. And I think my gut might have known too that he went to school with my sister, so there might have been that little connection as well. But anyway, there's that. There's hanging out in the mountains touring with Rick Fiennes. Rick, the first time Rick and I went on tour in the early 90s, he didn't have a driver's license yet. So he had his learner's license, and I had this little minivan that was propane powered, and we were up in Sudbury, and we had to head to Western Canada in this van. And the van, so Rick has got his learner's license. This is his first long distance driving thing. And something happened with the van, and the speedometer cable snapped. So from Sudbury, Ontario to Saskatoon, where I was going to take the car back where I had bought it originally, while we were touring and doing shows, he had no way to gauge how fast he was going.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. And anyway, we got it fixed and no speeding tickets. In Northern Ontario, it's a bit rocky and windy. So, that helped slow things down. And I also, I don't know, there was another thing. And Tony D had his learner's license very briefly. He doesn't have a driver's license, and he never has had one. And I think he's just been mobile on his own in Ottawa all the years and figures out ways to get to gigs with friends and that. But for a little while, he had his learners. So I have pictures of us driving also on a Western tour in that little minivan, I think, as well, or some van anyways. We're
almost out of time, so I want to mention something here. You had a really good 2024 was a Canadian Folk Music Award for Contemporary Sing of the Year, and they had the ECMA Award for Blues Album of the Year.
Yeah.
And I think that was a nice anniversary present because that's 30 years after your first album.
Oh, gosh. Right. That is nice. Yeah. Yeah, the ECMA was with Lloyd Spiegel and Charlie Acortt. We did like 30 shows together, the three of us, between 23 and 24. And so it was nice. And we did that little compilation album.
All right. Well, like I said, we're almost out of time. I don't want to get cut off in the middle. So I will mention everyone check out your website, SuzieVinnick.com. Your schedule's on there, your music, your lyrics, lots of links to YouTube. And you've got a lot of videos and songs on there. So that's very cool for people.
And I was going to say, we haven't got the paperwork done, but it looks like I'm going to be doing a band show at the Ancaster Memorial Center on, I'm going to say Tuesday, November 18th. Anyway, it'll be posted there once we get it firmed up. Yeah, I've got it here. Tuesday, November 18th is the date that Colin and I are talking. So folks can come and